That spot seems perfect.
I think this one needs a little more water.
Just a little. It's looking beautiful.
Look at these vibrant purple flowers. Oh,
They are beautiful, but not as beautiful as you.
stop it. But yes, they are lovely. I think this spot is perfect.
Let's give Jim a drink.
Look how happy they look.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our channel. Today we invite you to listen to a gentle yet deeply emotional story about Tieu Lac and a quiet, reserved CEO, where a peaceful farm becomes the beginning of healing and love. After enduring many hardships and emotional wounds from her past, Tieu Lac finds shelter at the CEO's farm. There, she learns how to slow down, how to trust again, and how to rediscover herself. Together, they build a new garden from an abandoned piece of land, planting seeds, nurturing the soil, and unknowingly nurturing a sincere bond along the way. Without drama or haste, their feelings grow through small actions, silent care, and moments of calm that speak louder than words. If you enjoy stories about healing, farm life, mature love, and happiness born from simple moments, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our upcoming stories. Your support means everything to us and motivates us to keep sharing meaningful, heartfelt stories every day. Thank you for watching and for being here with us. Tieu Lac arrived at the farm on a quiet morning when the mist was still hanging low over the fields, softening the edges of the world as if everything had been gently blurred on purpose. The road leading to the farmhouse was narrow and uneven, lined with wild grass and old wooden fences, nothing like the places she had lived before. As she stepped out of the car, the smell of fresh soil and damp leaves filled her lungs, unfamiliar yet strangely comforting. For the first time in a long while, no one was urging her to hurry, no debts were chasing her footsteps, and no harsh voices followed behind her. The farm stood there in silence, waiting, as if it had always known she would come. The CEO did not greet her with dramatic words or promises. He simply took one of her bags, heavier than it looked, and walked ahead, leading her toward the main house. His movements were calm, steady, almost routine, as though this was just another normal day. Yet Tieu Lac noticed every small detail. The way he slowed his pace so she would not feel rushed, the way he opened doors without a sound, the way he spoke only when necessary. He showed her a modest room at the back of the house with a window facing the fields. Sunlight poured in gently, touching the wooden floor and the simple bed, making the space feel warm and safe. "You can rest here," he said quietly. "No conditions, no pressure, just a place to stay." That first day, Tieu Lac did not do much. She unpacked slowly, folding her clothes with care, as if afraid that any sudden movement might break the fragile peace around her. From the window, she watched the CEO working outside, repairing a fence, checking the soil, moving through the land as though it were an extension of himself. There was strength in his silence, but also patience. She realized then that this farm was not a temporary escape for him, it was his chosen life, and for the first time she wondered if it could become hers too. Meals at the farm were simple, almost plain. Fresh vegetables, warm soup, rice cooked just right. They ate at the same table but did not force conversation. Sometimes there were only the sounds of cutlery, the wind brushing against the walls, and birds calling from afar. Yet Tieu Lac did not feel awkward. Instead, she felt something she had nearly forgotten: ease. The CEO never asked her to explain her past, never questioned her scars or the heaviness that sometimes clouded her eyes. He treated her presence as natural, as if she belonged there from the beginning. As days passed, Tieu Lac began to help with small tasks around the farm. At first, her movements were clumsy. She didn't know how to hold the tools properly, didn't understand the rhythm of the land. But the CEO never criticized her. He demonstrated quietly, repeating actions until she felt confident enough to try again. When she made mistakes, he simply fixed them without a word, allowing her dignity to remain intact. That quiet respect slowly dissolved the walls she had built around her heart. Living at the farm changed her routine, and with it, her thoughts. She woke up with the sunrise instead of anxiety. Her hands grew tired from honest work, not from carrying invisible burdens. At night, she slept deeply, no longer startled awake by memories she couldn't escape. The farm gave her structure, but more importantly, it gave her safety. And the man who owned it gave her space. Space to breathe, to heal, to exist without being judged. Tieu Lac understood that this arrangement might not last forever. She was still a guest, still someone carrying a complicated past, yet something inside her began to shift. The farm was no longer just a shelter. It became a place where her pain was allowed to rest, where silence was not lonely, and kindness did not demand repayment. She did not know when or how her feelings toward the CEO would change, but standing there, barefoot on the earth, watching the sun dip behind the fields, she felt the faint beginning of something new, quiet, steady, and real. The idea of building a new garden did not come from a grand plan or a serious discussion. It began one afternoon when Tieu Lac stood at the edge of an unused patch of land behind the farmhouse, watching weeds sway gently in the wind. The soil there was uneven and overgrown, forgotten for years. Almost without thinking, she said she wished there could be a small garden there, a place where things could grow slowly, just like people do when they are given time and care. She expected nothing from that thought, but the CEO paused, followed her gaze, and nodded. That quiet nod marked the beginning of something neither of them fully understood yet. The next morning, they started early. The air was cool and the earth was still moist from the night before. The CEO brought out old tools, hose, shovels, worn gloves, and handed a pair to Tieu Lac. He did not give long instructions. Instead, he showed her how to clear the weeds, how to loosen the soil without hurting it, how to work with patience rather than force. At first, her hands trembled slightly, unfamiliar with the weight of the tools. Dirt clung to her sleeves and stained her palms, but she did not pull away. For the first time, getting dirty felt honest. They worked side by side, often in silence. The CEO took care of the heavier tasks, lifting stones, breaking hardened ground, setting the foundation of the garden. Tieu Lac followed, smoothing the soil, gathering roots, and slowly learning the rhythm of the land. When she grew tired, he noticed without being told and paused with her. When the sun grew harsh, he placed his hat over her head without comment. These gestures were small, almost unnoticeable, but they settled deep in her heart. As the days went by, the shape of the garden began to appear. Wooden borders were set to define each bed. A simple irrigation line was dug carefully through the soil. Tieu Lac helped measure the space, choosing where vegetables, herbs, and flowers might grow. The CEO listened to her ideas seriously, never dismissing them, even when she doubted herself. For someone who had spent years being ignored and controlled, being heard was a quiet miracle. There were moments of laughter, too. Tieu Lac slipped in the mud once, nearly falling, and the CEO caught her just in time. For a brief second, they were close enough to feel each other's breath. Embarrassed, she pulled away, but her heart beat faster than usual. He turned back to his work as if nothing had happened, yet the warmth lingered in the space between them. The garden had become more than a project. It was a place where unspoken emotions took root. Every evening, after washing the dirt from their hands, they would sit near the garden and watch the sky change colors. The soil, once wild and neglected, now lay neat and ready. Tieu Lac felt a strange sense of pride. She had helped create something tangible, something that would continue to live and grow even when she rested. The CEO, too, seemed different, less distant, more present. Working together had softened the silence between them, turning it into something comfortable and shared. Planting day arrived quietly. They placed seeds into the soil with care, covering them gently as if protecting something fragile. Tieu Lac whispered a hope with each seed she planted, though she never said what those hopes were. The CEO watched her, understanding without words that this garden carried more than crops. It carried her trust, her healing, and her fragile courage to begin again. As they stood there, hands stained with earth, the CEO said softly that gardens teach people patience. Not everything grows at once, and nothing survives without care. Tieu Lac nodded, realizing that he was not only talking about plants. The garden was becoming a reflection of their lives, of two wounded souls learning to build something new together, slowly, quietly, and with intention. As the garden began to grow, so did the quiet changes between Tieu Lac and the CEO. At first, neither of them noticed it clearly. The days simply felt warmer, the silence more comfortable, the presence of the other no longer something to adjust to, but something to rely on. Green shoots broke through the soil, fragile yet determined, and with each new leaf, Tieu Lac felt something inside her gently unfolding as well. Mornings became their shared ritual. They walked through the garden together, checking the moisture of the soil, brushing aside leaves to see how the plants were doing. Sometimes the CEO would point out a small detail she had missed, not with authority, but with quiet pride, as if he were happy she cared enough to learn. Tieu Lac listened closely, not just to his words, but to the calm in his voice. She realized that she trusted him completely now, a realization that both comforted and frightened her. There were moments when she caught herself watching him without meaning to, the way he focused on his work, the way his hands moved gently around fragile stems despite their strength. He rarely spoke about himself, but his actions told her more than words ever could. He was patient, he was steady, he never disappeared when things became difficult. These qualities, so rare in her past, slowly reshaped her understanding of what safety could feel like. One evening, a sudden storm rolled in without warning. Heavy rain poured down, threatening to damage the young plants. Without hesitation, they ran into the garden together, covering the beds, securing the wooden borders, working side by side under the darkening sky. Tieu Lac slipped again, this time into a puddle, and laughed. A real laugh, free and unguarded. The CEO laughed too, a sound she had never heard from him before. In that moment, soaked and breathless, she realized how deeply her heart had already chosen him. After the storm passed, they stood under the small porch, listening to the rain soften into a gentle rhythm. The air was cool, and the world felt freshly washed. The CEO handed her a towel, his fingers brushing hers briefly. That simple touch sent a quiet warmth through her chest. He did not pull away immediately, and neither did she. Words hovered between them, heavy and unnecessary. What mattered was the understanding they shared in that silence. Tieu Lac began to notice how much he cared for her in ways that did not ask for recognition. He adjusted her workload when she was tired, left warm tea by her bed on colder nights, and made sure she ate well even when she forgot. He never called it love, never claimed anything from her. That restraint made his affection feel pure, and it gave her the courage to feel without fear. One night, as they sat by the garden watching fireflies glow softly in the dark, Tieu Lac spoke about her past for the first time. Her voice trembled as she described the years of pain, betrayal, and loneliness. The CEO listened without interruption, without judgment. When she finished, he did not offer solutions or advice. He simply said that her past did not define her worth, and that here she was safe. Those words settled deep within her, healing wounds she did not know how to name. From that night on, their bond was no longer unspoken. It lived in shared glances, in the way they naturally stood closer, in the gentle smiles that appeared without reason. They did not rush to define their relationship. Like the garden they had built together, it needed time, it needed patience and care. Standing among the plants they had nurtured, Tieu Lac understood that love did not always arrive like a storm. Sometimes it grew quietly, leaf by leaf, root by root. And in that slow, steady growth, she found not only love, but a home, one she had built with her own hands, alongside a man who had never tried to own her, only to walk with her.
Hello everyone, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Lý Tiểu Lạc Review. Rất vui vì ngày hôm nay được gặp lại các bạn trong câu chuyện ngày hôm nay. Nội dung câu chuyện ngày hôm nay của chúng ta đã kể về việc CEO và Tiểu Lạc chung sống với nhau tại nông trại của CEO sau những chuỗi ngày đau khổ vì bị phải trốn chạy khỏi những kẻ côn đồ muốn có ý định bắt Tiểu Lạc về để gán nợ cho chồng cũ của cô. Thì giờ đây hai người đã được tự do và có thể chung sống với nhau rất là vui vẻ và hạnh phúc tại nông trại. Trong lúc ăn cơm và trò chuyện với nhau thì CEO và Tiểu Lạc đã bàn với nhau kế hoạch là sẽ xây dựng một căn vườn ở tại nông trại của CEO. Căn vườn này sẽ trồng rất là nhiều loại hoa tươi với màu sắc sặc sỡ. Toàn những loại hoa mà Tiểu Lạc đều rất là thích, sẽ điểm tô cho nông trại của CEO thêm nhiều màu sắc mới mẻ và tươi mới. Mọi tình tiết hấp dẫn về câu chuyện của CEO và Tiểu Lạc sẽ còn được kể ở các video tiếp theo. Các bạn nếu thấy câu chuyện ngày hôm nay nội dung hay hấp dẫn thì hãy cho mình xin nút like, share và để lại comment góp ý ở dưới video nhé. Mọi ý kiến đóng góp của các bạn mình cải thiện các nội dung trên kênh hay hơn nữa để phục vụ khán giả. CEO và Tiểu Lạc cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều. Thank you so much. Please continue support their channel Lý Tiểu Lạc Review. Bye bye and see you soon tomorrow everyone.